right, and welcome along to the Invincible podcast with my man Lee Judges in the building, and we've got a very special guest joining us today as well. We've got Alison Lomax, Managing Director of YouTube, massive Arsenal fan as well.
As you can tell.
As we can tell, she's got the shirt on. We love that. So we're going to be talking to Alison in a minute. And later on, coming up in the show, we've got Rory Jennings, big Chelsea fan. You all know him. He's going to be joining us here as well to talk Arsenal versus Chelsea at the weekend. Massive game. But first of all, before we speak to Alison, how's your international break been? All right? Enjoy
it's been very good. Not as good as your one, of course. You know what I mean? Seeing you hot nobbing it over in Dubai. You know what I mean?
What, you begrudge me a break?
No.
You get a little break, can't I?
I'm very happy for you that you had that break. I think you deserved it as well. And I had.
Why do I believe you?
No, I do, and I had the pleasure of Laurie last week, which was very nice.
Yeah, Laurie was on. How'd it go?
Very good. So obviously talking about that fantastic win against Man City. So still buzzing for that, and now really looking forward to the Chelsea game. So
massive game at the weekend.
Massive game. And it is. I know the week when they ain't got the football in the weekend, and sometimes it's just nice to get a break from it. You know that Arsenal's not going to ruin your weekend. You know what I mean, or enhance your weekend, as you say.
Yeah.
So it's nice just to relax. I had a nice night out in London, which was very, very nice. And so looking forward to chilled. That's the word, chilled.
Yeah. No, I had a nice time in Dubai, man. It's brilliant, and big up to Khalid over there. Really looked after me. Big up to the guys at 5 Jumeirah, the Palm. What an unbelievable place that was, and also the Grand Hyatt. They all looked after me. Rohan.
Did you get first class? Did you get an upgrade?
I had a butler.
A butler? What's going on here? A butler?
The hotel, they go to me, they go, meet your butler. I go, what? Butler? They go, yeah. And I'll tell you, a guy called Rohan, man, he looked after me so well. Big up Rohan, man. He was.
So he serves you drinks and all that?
Well, not exactly.
What's he do then?
Well, if you want him to serve you drinks, he will. If you could just
unreal, isn't it?
Send a message and he'll bring the drinks up or whatever. If you want to go to, because a hotel, like they've got places where you can go to dinner and all that. If you want to go to dinner, he'll make sure you get VIP. If you want to go to one of the beach parties, he'll sort out your table and all that. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
We're missing out, aren't we?
Much
more relaxing. I had a very, very tense Sunday. I was at the match, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Well, let's talk about that.
Sounds much more relaxing.
Let's talk about Alison, right? Because actually, Alison Lomax, Managing Director of YouTube, right? Massive job, right? And also, when I've met you at several events that you've put on, I've realised that you're a passionate supporter of the women's football game and massive Arsenal supporter.
Yeah.
And I mean, tell us about it. I mean, because every time I meet you and we're talking football, I'm blown away by your passion for the women's game.
Yeah, no, totally. And we've had some great conversations, haven't we? So, I mean, for me, I'm that classic generation where I was desperate to play football when I was younger and I couldn't. So
couldn't because they just wouldn't let women play, teams, or
I'm sure you're aware, but a lot of people might not be aware. But football for women was banned for 50 years by the FA from 1921 to 1971. And so when we talk about this is the rise of women's football, it's not actually the rise, it's the return. Because women's football was massive, particularly in World War I, when men were away, fighting in the war. The leagues really blew up from a sort of women's perspective. And there was one match on Boxing Day in 1920. It was the Dick Kerr Women's against St Helens. There were 55,000 people in the stadium and 15,000 people who were turned away.
Wow.
And the FA decided that it was totally unsuitable for women, and that's why it was banned 50 years. So for me, growing up in the sort of 70s and 80s, I couldn't play and I was desperate to play. So what I've done is I've basically channeled all my passion and frustration into my kids. So I've got 2 daughters who are 17 and 13. They both play for the Hertfordshire League. Actually, my eldest is a referee as well, which is that's an experience in itself. But I've also been very involved in our local club, Berkhamsted Raiders. It's a fantastic grassroots club. We've now got hundreds of girls playing every week. And so I've been focusing on recruitment and getting more girls playing, and also representation, getting more girls and women in coaching roles and managing roles and refereeing.
That's
so
fantastic.
It's been an amazing journey, and just seeing the difference, in the last 4 years and how much it's grown. it's just been phenomenal. And obviously, like a big point was the Euros final. Were you there? Were either of you there?
Yeah, I was at the final. I was at the semi-final.
Yeah.
Yeah, semi-final at Wembley. That was absolutely incredible. And we did when we had the Euros, we did the final. We did a big watch along on DR Sports, and
Brilliant.
we were all on that, and it was absolutely incredible. What a moment!
It's such a
and
moment.
a real turning point for the women's game in this country. Although Arsenal have always been flying the flag for women's football, so I've been going to watch women's football for quite a long time. But I have seen a big change in it in recent times. I mean, and now we're seeing games. You know, I was there a few weeks ago when Arsenal played Liverpool for the opening
it was
game of the
50,000,
season.
wasn't it?
They broke a record, wasn't it, for the WSL. I mean, it's incredible the way it's risen.
Yeah.
And I know you're passionate again, because I remember I went to an event that you put on at YouTube where to celebrate the women's game before the World Cup.
Yes.
And you had Beth Mead. I got to meet Beth Mead. I was on stage with
amazing.
Some incredible people to do with the women's game. It was a fantastic event.
And I think that's what's incredible now, is we've got these amazing role models. So for a lot of the girls in our club, you know, some would go and watch the men's game, but actually a lot just didn't watch football. Whereas now, and I think there was a brilliant call to action from Gabby Logan after the Women's Euros, which was like, get behind a club. You know, we need bums on seats in stadiums to support the women's game and to make it, you know, much more commercially sustainable. And that was actually when we as a family decided, right, which club are we going to support? I wasn't someone who ever went to football games before, so it's quite recent. So there's this kind of like new generation of football fans who are particularly supporting women's football. And what's amazing is you go to these games and it's so inclusive. It's like all ages, all genders, you know, it's kids in party dresses, and it's like groups of lads. It's like, it's everyone. And because you've got these amazing role models, and it just feels very positive and very inclusive.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I find, Lee, about the women's game. When I first started going to watch Arsenal women, it was like a spillover from the men's game. So you would have people who normally go and watch a men's game would go. You'd have people who maybe can't always get a ticket for the men's game, say, let me go and have a look at this women's game, what it's like. When I go to watch the games now, they've got their own crowd.
Exactly.
They're not reliant no longer on that spillover. There's still a bit of that, but the people that are going to watch those games are going to watch those games, are supporting that team, supporting those players. It has really grown. It's incredible.
Yeah, and one thing, I went to the Arsenal Spurs game last year at the Emirates, which was really, really good. And the good thing about it from my point of view is, like with the England team, because you haven't got that real like rivalry with the players so much, you can get really behind the England team. Yeah. Like, you know, like in a way. I remember we was in America last when the Euros were on. We was in a bar and they had the women's game on against Spain, and Spain went 1-0 up, and everybody started edging round to the other bar to watch the game, and in the end England won, and we was all going mad, like, you know. So it's definitely something like that. And
although I was in Spain watching that.
Oh, in Spain, even better, like, you know. And I think like those Euros, I definitely think lifted the game, because I think there was an excitement. But one of the greatest things, I've got a few mates that have got daughters and all that, and they're going to being coached. They're going to games, you know, like they go to the women's, because it's a little bit more accessible to go to than the men's game at this moment, to get tickets and that. But they're getting coached, they're in proper teams now, you know, and that must be fantastic for a girl growing up, you know, as you said, like you weren't allowed to play and all that. And there was a thing against it when, you know, you can't play. I think you can play to a certain age, can't you, with the girls, and then they can't play no more. So they're getting these teams together now, and I've got to say, the Aston Villa game against Arsenal the other day, I was getting just as frustrated as it was with the men's game. I thought, they're going to blow this, sack the manager, get rid of it. You know what I mean? It was a really exciting game at the end, and when the two goals went in at the end, the atmosphere was fantastic.
That was amazing. Yeah. And I'd say, in terms of the growing the girls' game, like credit to the FA in terms of growing the Lionesses and really creating them as sort of amazing role models and investing in the Lionesses. But it's also at a county FA level as well. Like the county FA have done a brilliant job of investing in that grassroots, which is what you need. It's kind of to feed the game and So one of the things that I've done is, referees, there are very few women referees. And actually you look at the international recently, the England, Australia, it was Stephanie Frapper. She was the first ever female referee to...
Yeah, and she refereed the game very well.
But she got booed. She got booed when her name was read out. So there's still so much sort of, sexism when it comes to actually women sort of taking a role in those positions. And so like our local FA Hearts have done a brilliant job of investing into like just girls only referee courses, just creating a safe space where we can kind of nurture that community of referees, because it's really, really hard.
Do they like school and all that now? Because I don't know. When I was playing at school, like you used to go to the district side, then the county side,
yes.
and things like that. So do the girls have that?
Yes, exactly. So that still exists. Yeah.
So that route.
So you've got that, but actually you've got a lot of now really good pathways. So academy. Yeah. So at Berkhamsted Raiders, it's a club for everyone. We've got all abilities, and we want all abilities to enjoy the game. But we also want to really nurture our talent. And so we've actually got a couple of players who play for Arsenal. And other clubs as well. So it's kind of creating those pathways from the grassroots clubs into, for those who are actually super talented and want to go and play professionally.
Yeah. So they get scouts come to watch those sort of games.
And all of that's being scaled out much more. And I think there was a challenge actually in the Euros that, you looked at the squad and it was very white. And actually, are we doing enough around diversity within women? And are we actually, is there enough infrastructure to be finding talent from all around the country? So I think from the Euros, there's been a big push on that as well.
Yeah, and Arsenal, bit of an indifferent start to the season, haven't they?
It's been a tough start.
Normally a team that's right up there doing really, really well. Lost that first game to Leicester, and then like Liverpool. You said, to Liverpool, and then they scraped that win over Aston Villa. And the league this year is very competitive. I mean, in years gone by, it was either one of Arsenal, Chelsea, and Chelsea have been very dominant in it, or Man City. Now there's all these other teams. There's United, who did very well last year. There's Leicester.
Yeah.
There's so many emerging teams.
Exactly.
Now.
And Leicester's really interesting because they faced relegation last season and they're currently second in the league. So,
Crazy.
I mean, it's been a tough start,
but
there's a lot of new players. So we've signed a lot of fantastic players.
How's Russo getting on? Because she's the big signing, wasn't it?
She's a fantastic player. I think one of the biggest challenges this season is because so many of the players came from the World Cup, there wasn't a very long pre-season.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the clubs that had the most World Cup players have had the most difficult start. You look at, for example, even like Chelsea. Chelsea are, I think, currently third. So it's been an unusual start to the season. But, I'm a great believer that, if we were having this conversation at the end of the season, Arsenal would definitely be in the top two. We've got an amazing squad. And going back to your point about the Aston Villa game on Sunday, I was in the stadium. It was 87 minutes when Beth Mead came on, and the crowd, the eruption of the crowd. Mido just like on the pitch was just incredible to see, the kind of love for her.
It's great to have her.
And
back.
I think she just lifted the crowd, and she lifted the team.
You could show that on TV as well,
exactly. And she changed the game. The assist that she did to Russo. She changed the shape of the game, and that's kind of what was needed. But I think it was more than that. She sort of gave him a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And you think, we've got Viv hopefully coming back in a couple of weeks. She's back in the Dutch squad now, so she's obviously fit.
Great.
And then we've got Leah Williamson as well, who will hopefully come back at some time in the new year.
The
squad is the depth of the squad is incredible.
Black
I think it's Maud and Black Stinius,
yeah.
and then you've got amazing defenders, people like Lotta, and so I'm very confident about the squad. I think it's been more just around the early season connections.
And it also showed their fighting spirit, because if I'm led to believe, they've been on the 85th minute. They've been losing every game.
Yes.
They was losing to Man United, and they pulled out a last-minute winner. They was I think it was 87 minutes, and they was
You're
losing.
Totally right. The last three goals have all been over the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
They've got to get that sorted.
It's not good for my nerves.
No.
But going back to your point about Arsenal have really invested in the women's game. They're really leading the way in that respect. And I'm really proud of that. Really proud of how they treat their players, all the commercial deals they're doing. It's fantastic.
Do you think that eventually they play all their games at the Emirates?
It's a great question. I mean, I think that's for Arsenal to decide. What I would say is that we're at a sort of interesting inflection point, because whilst I love and my family and my girls and their friends, what's great is they bring all their friends along, so it's like a big day out for them. And these are historically people who wouldn't have kind of watched, girls who wouldn't have watched football. is they love the Emirates and they love that excitement of being there. They also love the Boreham Wood games, because there's a real intimacy, you know. And at the end of the match, you know, the players will come around and they'll really spend time and sign stuff.
They do.
You know,
it's brilliant.
In some ways, it's kind of best of both worlds. But ultimately, obviously, you know, I want the game to grow, and I'd want every match to be in a sold-out stadium.
Do you think, right? We've got a final question on this, right? Is that I was looking at the Champions League, right? So Arsenal got knocked out of the Champions League a couple of weeks ago. Manchester United, they've been knocked out now of the Champions League. Are they shooting themselves in the foot with this Champions League format, where they've got teams like Arsenal, Man United? Because isn't it, at the moment, it would only be the team that wins the league qualifies automatically. Then all the other teams have to qualify. Now, Arsenal being out of the Champions League, Man United being out of the Champions League, these are big clubs that would have brought a big audience to the Champions League that are out.
Yeah.
I think Wolfsburg are out as well. You know what I mean? It's a bit ridiculous,
got knocked out last night.
Why didn't they just follow a similar format to like what the men's game does, so that you keep these big teams in, and then that has more interest for the. I mean, last year Arsenal semi-final Champions League, 60,000.
It was exactly.
Crazy.
I was there when they lost in the last 2 minutes. That was another moment of like
that was another moment.
Head in hand.
That was a
Typical Arsenal. This is.
You know what? It was Lottie Wooper-Moy who made a little error.
That game, weren't you?
Yeah, and I've been speaking to her a few weeks before. Remember YouTube?
Yes, that's
was at the Brit Awards thing,
Yeah.
and I was with such a lovely girl. I felt so bad.
But she had
for
the
her.
game of a match.
And she was, she's playing brilliant up to that. She's playing brilliant.
That's how it is, isn't it? It's so tough. I think that's a great point. I think you need to talk to the Champions League about that.
They won't listen to me.
Back to Robbie.
And obviously, also you, as managing director of YouTube, you're releasing a new, and this is of great interest to me and Lee, and here at AFTV, where we do a lot of podcasts. You're releasing a new podcast format.
Yeah, so it's live. So last week on YouTube Music, we launched podcast as a separate feature. So what it means is that anyone for free can download and listen to podcasts offline. So it means for all of the podcasts that your audiences love, they can now watch and listen to them on YouTube Music.
Wow.
So it's fantastic. You know, we've got a massive range of different podcasts. And it's just providing even more accessibility for people to listen and watch. So
a bit like, say, at the moment, what you do on Spotify on each, where it's the same sort of format but on YouTube Music.
And you know what's great about YouTube is it's obviously we've got the audio piece, but we've got the audiovisual piece as well. So it means people can watch it as well. So we're sort of really bridging that gap between audio and visual as well.
Yeah. I mean, because podcasts, there's so many people on YouTube now doing podcasts, isn't there?
Yeah, and so, I mean, YouTube is, in terms of, as a platform in the UK, it's huge. So 96% of adults watch YouTube every month. So it's huge.
96%?
96%. Yeah. And they watch in lots of different ways. So some people like all the short form content, and some people go to watch kind of hours of content. And there's live, obviously, as well, which you do, or kind of watch-alongs. And then also podcasts, which has always been big on YouTube, but not as a specific product and feature. So that's what we've launched. And obviously, when it comes to sport and football, there are some brilliant podcasts. Obviously, all of yours, The Rest is Football, Jill Scott. You know, there's loads of podcasts. So it's fantastic football and sports content.
So I think it's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you should be able to.
It's unreal.
You be able to get Invincible podcasts now, just like on. You know, you can just listen to it whenever you want.
And the thing with YouTube now is that anybody can do it, and whether you're famous or not, like I see like professional footballers doing it now, and it's such a. Everybody watches YouTube now, don't they?
Yeah, and that's you know, obviously like what we love about it, the fact that it's a really open platform.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, wherever you live, in whatever part of the country, if you've got a phone, then you can create your own video content. So it sort of, you know, democratizes that content creation.
How did you get into YouTube stuff?
To YouTube. So before YouTube, I was at Google for 12 years, which is part of the same family.
Right.
And worked on YouTube quite a lot. And but YouTube was my kind of ultimate passion point when it came to everything around my career that I've loved, the sort of politics side of it, the creativity, and also diversity as well. I was talking about diversity of content creators. It's something that we're really proud about. So it's amazing. I'm incredibly lucky to be doing my dream job, and I get to work with people like Robbie and talk about Arsenal. This is my job. I mean, goodness.
Yeah, I love this job just talking about Arsenal.
Exactly.
Unless we lose.
Exactly.
But I absolutely love it. But listen, thank you very, very much for coming on today. Once again, tell us about this podcast, because I know that there'll be a lot of people who are listening and watching this podcast who want to know how to get their content onto podcasts, or if they're starting a new podcast, how to get onto it.
So it's, in terms of watching and listening to podcasts, go onto YouTube Music, you'll see a podcast feature, the name podcast, literally click on that, and from there you can search the archive of podcasts and listen and watch to whatever you want.
And what if they want to start? What if they want to start a podcast?
If they want to start creating in YouTube Studio, it's just much easier to do that. And also later in the year, we'll also be syncing in RSS feeds. So for previous content archives as well to upload. Yep. So it's making it much easier from both a viewing and also a creating perspective as well.
What about Berkhamsted then? The games.
Berkhamsted Raiders. For most teams actually, it's a rest weekend. Because it's obviously half term.
Yeah, same with my son.
It's half term, which I'm gutted about. I have to say, I love my job,
like
but a highlight of the week is always just Saturday morning on the touchlines.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like me, I mean, we get to watch so many games. I go to so many games, but I just love watching my son play.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to watch him for the past few weeks because I was away last week.
You in Dubai with your butler?
All right.
Yeah, priorities.
I shouldn't have said that butler thing, right? And then even like the previous week and everything like that, we had like early kickoffs and stuff like that. So I weren't. And then the 1 week now, I'm thinking, right, at least I can watch my son play. No game.
I know. It's annoying. It's amazing, isn't it? It's just nothing better. And for me, I go to our home ground and I just see this sea of girls playing football, and just the fact I couldn't do it, but the fact it's a reality now is amazing.
It's an absolutely
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, and
please come again.
I will, absolutely.
That was Alison Lomax. She was brilliant about the women's game. But now we are going to get into the big game at the weekend. Of course, Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. 5:30 kickoff UK time. Huge game. We're coming off the back of a massive win against Man City. But to be fair to Chelsea, they picked it up over the last couple of games as well. So they've hit a little bit of form. And joining us to discuss that game, we could only draw for one guy. Rory Jennings in the building. Big up, Rory, man.
Mate, thank you. Here, man. Thank you. It's obviously an honour to be here. But I feel like I've already won. Like, coming in here to talk to you both about this fixture, I was obviously very nervous. Arsenal on the crest of a wave, playing so well, that statement victory against Manchester City. I was really nervous, but I was just watched your brilliant interview earlier with Alison, and I feel like the moral victory is mine, because I don't go on holiday and get a butler. No. So whatever you say now, however much you win, Arsenal could win 5-0 on the weekend, but the victory's mine, isn't it?
No. And see you. No, listen, he can't talk. If you see some of the places that he goes to,
I don't want to.
I remember he said
poker stuff and all that.
You see the poker stuff.
Yeah.
And how much did he win on one of them poker things?
I think he done well.
How much did he win on one of them poker things?
The wolf is very much on my door. Not enough for a butler. We'll put it
this way. He could have afforded to employ his own butler for about 2 years. With the money that he won. Right, and that's based off of English prices, right? But no, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, mate.
By the way, before we even get stuck into the football, right? Congratulations on all the stuff I see you, your shows that you were doing on TalkSport. Brilliant.
Oh, that's really kind. Robin, always appreciate you dipping in, man. You and
Addy, man, you're great on that show, man. You're doing great things, man. Love the channel.
Oh, mate,
and all the stuff you've been doing on there.
This has all been really nice so far, isn't it? I've got a feeling that you're building me up.
We're going to smash you in a minute.
Yeah. I can feel that's where we're
going. Right, that's time to switch it up.
Yeah.
It's time to switch it up now. Big game coming up on the weekend. I couldn't believe this stat when I looked at it. I think it's the last 8 or is it 7 games we played?
Yeah.
We won 6 of them.
Yeah, you're our bogey team. Even when things are going well for us, you've become...
No, but you used to beat us, like, remember Drogba days and all that? We couldn't get a winner for you guys.
It's kind of gone full circle, hasn't it? Because when I was a kid, whatever we did, whatever we were doing, however well we were playing, we just couldn't beat you. It didn't matter what we did. We go 2-0 up and Kanu scores from the corner flag. We go 2-0 up, Kanu from the corner flag. Yeah. Silvino, Winterburn, whatever we did, you did something else. Even there was one actually at the Emirates where I think we were like well on course to win, And suddenly Cudicini, who was a brilliant keeper at the time, threw his legs on reopened goal. You think, whatever we did, you were better. There was a complete role reversal, wasn't there? Yeah. Suddenly, whatever you did, however good you were, the little ballers in your team, didn't matter whether it was a Rosicky era, didn't matter whether it moved on to when it was like the Cazorla, it didn't matter what team it was, we would bully you, we would beat you. You'd have the lot of the ball, you'd have a lot of the play, and we'd go to Cardiff and we'd lift the trophy and you'd go home. Yeah. You know, whatever you did, we would win. And I'd say now we're kind of back to the early mid to late 90s, aren't we?
Great, isn't it?
Painful. It's painful.
We have got an unbelievable record against them in recent times, isn't it?
And that's what I like about it at the moment, like, you know, because when you go back to when Chelsea were winning those games, they were a better team, Rory. They were dominant, and they forced it on that. And that's what I want us to do now. While we're the dominant side, we are the better side at the moment. That's why I want us to go to Stamford. I remember going, you know, the 6-0s, you know, like
Wenger's 1000th game, wasn't it?
Wenger's 1000th game.
They'd go and beat us, and if they didn't, they'd cheat their way through it, like, you know what I mean? Like, with the cost of sending off that time, like, you know, they'd find a way of beating us. Yeah. Right now we're on top of them, like, and we are the better side at the moment, like, you know. And Chelsea are going for a traditional stage, which I think they will come out of it the right way with Pochettino if they stick with him. But it's our time now to just really hit it home, and I'd be really disappointed if we don't beat them on Saturday.
And if you think about last year, if you think about how dominant you were last year,
in that game.
But I think, do you know what I think?
Yeah, it's 1-0.
No, but it was a 1-0 battering, wasn't it? Because the easiest thing to talk about, if you look at last year for some sort of guidance as to how this year's going to go, the 3-1 game. It sounds bigger. It sounds, you know, you scored more goals. You won by a bigger margin. It sounds like a bigger performance. But actually, I think the performance where you came to Stamford Bridge, won 1-0. Do you remember it was all built up? Do you remember Aubameyang did a sort of thing?
Didn't get,
Do you remember he did a thing?
He done that little advert for BT where he got a lot of stick from the Arsenal fans.
And we couldn't
like
get the ball off
nothing personal or something like that.
We couldn't get the ball off him. Like, I think that 1-0 was a bigger result than, I don't know. You remember the Van Persie, the 5-3 when Lampard scored a header? Like, I think the 1-0 last year was actually bigger than the 5-3, bigger than anything.
It was the first time I come away from Stamford Bridge saying, "Oh, that was quite comfortable."
Yeah, you battered us. You battered us 1-0.
You never had that. Like, you never had, when you go to, and listen, we're going to have difficult moments in this game on Saturday, I'm sure. But you know, that was a complete performance last season. Apart from we didn't get enough goals, but you know, sometimes when you win, it was a statement win last season, 1-0 away from home against Chelsea. You know, they are rivals for us, Rob. There's no two ways about it. So it was important. I think the one at the end of the season showed that where we was and where we weren't. But there's a little change now. There's a change. Arsenal, you know, I can't believe it. Like, you know, that Arsenal are the better team now. I haven't said that for a while.
When you look at the players, because
players as well at this moment in time, you can say that. Like, even in the past, where Chelsea have probably had some players that could get into the team. I remember it was only a couple of seasons ago. They come over here at the Emirates, beginning of the season. We just lost to City.
Lukaku.
2-0. It was totally dominated in that game.
Lukaku,
That's what I want. Exactly that same performance I want us to do against what they done to us that day. They was much better than us. They come here, flexed their muscles and went home. And I want us doing exactly the same.
And do you know what, Oli? As much as you want that, I actually think you have to do that. Like, you've got yourselves into a very privileged position. You play very well. You've got a lot of points on the board, and the expectations therefore rise. It's because of how good you've been, and also because of like the brilliance of Pep Guardiola. The value in a draw's gone. Like, you can't get a draw.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You need to, what you've just said there, we need to turn up, dominate, batter, 3 points, go home. You kind of do.
He's trying to put the pressure on him.
No, I think the pressure is on you. You want to win the league.
He's using a little reverse psychology now. It's going to be a lot tougher than that. It ain't going to be us just rolling up there and doing that. You're coming off the back of a couple of wins.
It's Burnley and Fulham, Rob.
Yeah, he's impressive. We drew Fulham. So, you know.
Burnley and Fulham.
It's Burnley and Fulham, but there were better performances as well. I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans say this season, if you actually look at like their XG and look at how they, you don't like the XG thing, but that's what a lot of Chelsea fans have been saying, that if you actually look at, if they took their chances, they wouldn't have lost so many games.
Yeah, but I know, but to me that's just, I actually think that kind of chat, look, I don't understand there's a place for it, but a lot of it I feel like it's a load of old waffle. People were looking at stats and going, Chelsea are going to be good because they had loads of the ball against Fulham. Yeah, maybe, but we need to have a better cutting edge. We need to find somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net. We need to be more ruthless. And although the performances against Burnley and Fulham were massively encouraging, particularly considering what we'd seen previously to that, losing at home to Villa, losing at home to Nottingham Forest. Of course, you're happy with victories, and it doesn't really matter who it's against. I'm now sitting here with you two, and it's Arsenal, a team that finished second in the league last year, accrued an awful lot of points, have genuine ambitions to win the league this year, have some of the best players in the league. I think Saliba and Declan Rice are definitely in contention to be the very best players in the league in their positions. You can't draw with Chelsea, is the point I'm going around the houses to make it. I think the pressure is on you. A point for us is a fantastic point. It would mean that we've got 7 points out of the last 3 games. If you want to win the league, which you obviously do, the value in a draw has gone because of how good you've been over the last year and how good Klopp has been over the last couple of years and how good Guardiola has been.
At home, you won a game at home this season.
Yeah, oh, mate, don't be silly. We smashed up. Come on, Luton. Mate, we were unplayable.
I thought that was at Luton. Oh, that was actually at home.
No, that's at Stamford Bridge.
Oh, okay. So that's the only game you won at home this season.
That is the only game there was a game in the cup against the Dons. Can I have that?
No, Premier League I'm talking about.
Yeah. Listen, Chelsea. I watched them against Liverpool. Was it Liverpool at home? And I thought
first day of
was
the season.
The better side. And against West Ham, it went all wrong, but it could have gone so much better for them if they'd have took their chances and the penalty and everything like that. But listen, I hear what Rory's saying, but.
Are you worried? Are you worried about this Chelsea? Pochettino?
No.
Are you worried about everything that Chelsea could do? Because it would set you back, wouldn't it? You beat.
Look, listen, it'd set us back. 100%, it would set us back. But I feel that Arsenal in a position now, especially after what happened against Man City. I look at that game against Man City. Whether you think it's a good game or not, that's a proper game for 2 top teams going at it. And I felt that we come out on that game proper.
Yeah,
it was
a real result. It was a real victory. The performance is irrelevant in a game.
No, it was how we got over the line, how we done it, and all that. And I think we need to do that again at your boy. Yeah. I think if we can get a result against you got. I think it's a couple of weeks' time. You've got Spurs. Hopefully you go and turn them over, and that's when you start doing the business. But I do think with Pochettino, I think he's listen. I know he's been at Spurs, and I think he's a very top manager. You know what I mean? It wasn't one stage.
It's a genuine concern.
It is a concern that he hasn't done that.
Obviously, he's won in France,
but he knows how to win games of football in the Premier League. He knows how to beat Arsenal.
Yeah, he does.
So
he's a better manager than Arteta.
There is that thing about.
He's not a better manager than Arteta.
No,
why do you think he's a better?
Because his record tells you that he's a better manager.
He ain't won nothing. Arteta's actually has won something. Arteta did won the FA Cup, beat you.
Long so you've got to have a good memory.
Remember, he beat Chelsea.
You've got to have a good memory.
Huh?
You've got to have a good memory. Since then, he could have been sacked about 15 times.
No, but he's rebuilt the team. He
finished
totally
finished 8th twice.
Yeah, but he came in and had a poor team.
I think.
You look at every Chelsea fan. Every time you're talking about your rebuild, you look at Arteta. You say, "Oh, remember what Arteta did." Right. So if you're saying he's not that great manager now, right? Why are you all looking to him?
He's a good example to use to demonstrate patience because it went so wrong.
No, but he didn't go. He came in straight away and won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what bought him. If you use actually to look at it, right, that bought him a bit of insurance policy where the next season, even though you did finish 8th.
Losing at home to Burnley and things like that.
But people remembered the FA Cup win and they could see what he was trying to do, rebuild the team. But I think in the case of Pochettino, I don't know, you're a Chelsea fan, so you know more than me, but you guys have spent, not all of it under him, £1 billion.
Yeah.
£1 billion, right?
But this is an example.
So how long does he have to have that team £1 billion challenge for the league? Because Arteta didn't get $1 billion. No. Arteta got incremental amounts every season, so he could go and get a Ben White the first season. He could the next season he could go. You're
not going to like my answer to this. You're not going to like it at all. But I actually think the job that Pochettino has got, and just bear with me on this, the job that he's got is far harder because of the ludicrous amounts of money that has been spent in his name.
But I don't understand how that can be.
Because the point of the Chelsea ownership isn't to benefit the first team. Like generally, when Arteta has the fortune of spending some money, it's for the furtherance of Arsenal's first team. So you buy a player that will improve your first team. So for example, you needed to replenish your central midfield. What did you do? You went out and bought the best central midfielder that you could possibly buy. Good ownership, good management, good ideals throughout the club. What Chelsea are doing isn't that. Chelsea are adopting a hateful new business model which isn't to encourage success in the first team. If we genuinely wanted to improve our first team, you don't sign Nicholas Jackson and Mykhailo Mudryk and like a whole wealth of young, unproven talent.
We were trying to sign Mudryk, and you nipped him off us, offering him this big contract and 8-year contract and stuff like that.
The point of this Chelsea ownership, who I despise, is to make the club as valuable as possible and to make as much money out of the club as possible and to squeeze every penny of value that there is in Premier League football. And a way that you can do that is to make sure that all of the young assets that could end up becoming better players, you only need a couple of them to actually maximise their potential. So Cole Palmer signs. Sadly, he won't be playing because he's been in a breath of fresh air. But Cole Palmer's a good example. You sign him for 50 million quid. If his career goes as we hope it will, he immediately becomes worth 100 million and you've doubled your money on him. Like that's the point of this policy.
What about like say Caicedo then and players like that, because he's been brought in to immediately benefit the team.
What I think the point there is sometimes you can make bad decisions and still make loads of money. I'll give you an example here. The London property market. And I think that football could go the same way. The London property market, say you were to have got massively ripped off in 1990 and bought a house in Hackney. That house you got ripped off. The house was worth 50 grand and you paid 75. You've been totally done. The exponential rise of the London property market meant that you're a millionaire anyway. I think that our board have seen the value of football clubs and this untapped market, the potential of European sport. And if you compare it to American sport, which is so regulated, there's nowhere to move for them. There's no manoeuvring for Todd Bowley to do in American sport. He's looked at European sport and he's gone, this is unregulated. It's a mess. We can make so much money here. So he's bought Chelsea. He's overpaid for the club. He's overpaid for certain players. But if their projection is correct and Premier League football is just going to rise and rise and rise and we're going to have £1 billion player soon, they're going to make loads of money anyway. So they're not trying to improve the first team with the money, which is why I think Pochettino hasn't actually benefited. Like realistically, if you think about the players that Chelsea sold in the summer and the players that Chelsea signed, what would be better for Chelsea's first team?
I see what you're saying there, and that's a good point. I look at it another way, is that and I haven't looked at it like that, and I'll be really honest. The way I've looked at it is that over the years, Chelsea have bought players to win now and win straight away.
Oh yeah. Drogba's that. But Nicholas Jackson ain't that.
But now they're looking at it doing like, well, we're going to nurture players and bring it up, which is what Arsenal have been doing for the last 3 or 4
years.
But
what I'd say, and you know what, Rory makes, I actually...
It's a great point.
In listening to him, maybe I've sort of changed my thinking a bit now, because I found it mysterious, right? You've got £1 billion, you buy all these players, yeah? I'm like, if I've got £1 billion, all right, I'll buy loads of up-and-coming talent. But then I've got £1 billion to spend, so I'm also going to say, you know what, as a striker, let me get Victor Osimhen.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I can afford that.
We
I've got
don't
£1 billion.
have that, exactly.
And I'm going to say, and you know, and with another chunk of that,
buy the best goalkeeper.
With another chunk of that, I'm going to buy the
it's
best
a great point.
Centre back alongside these. But the fact that they've just gone and bought all this, and they're all great talents. I like that Madawaki and all these guys, right? But I'm just like, I look at that team and I'm like,
there's another.
It doesn't frighten me, you know what I mean? I look at a very good side. If you're not on your money, you could lose.
It's a great.
But I'm like, I don't. So where's them play? Where is the Drogba?
Where's Osimhen?
Where's
Harry Kane? Where's Harry Kane? Like, why is Harry Kane not leading? If Chelsea spend, if I said to you, Chelsea are going to spend £1 billion in 1 year, 1 billion, and I went to you, hypothetical this is, right? Pretend it's happened a year ago. Hypothetically, Chelsea spend £1 billion. Who's leading the line for Chelsea? You're going to go Osimhen, Kane.
Kane, Ivan Toney.
We were losing at home to Aston Villa. Right, Unai Emery did a brilliant job on us. They were better than us. Ollie Watkins breaks his duck for the season. They go 1-0 up. We need a goal. Right, we desperately need a goal. Armando Broja. was the answer, who hadn't kicked a football for a
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
You know, when you go, hang on a minute, okay, yeah, he spent £1 billion. And the easiest thing to do is go, well, he spent £1 billion. Chelsea should be winning the league. He spent £1 billion. But if you actually employ some critical thinking and go, hang on a minute, they got a youth product to score an equaliser at home to Villa. Like, Watkins would be a better. You know, you're looking at the Aston Villa team. You go, all these players would be better.
You know, the crazy thing is, right? When you think about it, they've actually spent £1 billion on another academy.
Yeah, we spent £1 billion and got worse. It's
Right?
honestly impossible.
And they got an unbelievable academy already. And then they went and bought another academy that's sitting on top of that.
Look at the players.
Right? Because, like you said, Mudryk, you know, his potential. Even Caicedo, even though he's an excellent player,
Well, I think Jackson's going to be a decent player in a couple of
Jackson's
years.
potential.
I
They're
really
all
do.
potential.
It's all
They're all
potential.
potential. Who's the players?
Yeah, but Arsenal have done that, Robbie.
No, but Arsenal.
No, it's like
even,
Gabriel Jesus.
even with the money that Arsenal spent, yeah, Jesus is a ready-made
Declan Rice,
Premier League player.
Zinchenko.
Declan Rice, ready-made. You know,
You bought some players through.
they've bought players that they already know. Thomas Partey, even though he's been injured a lot, they bought him in. He weren't a developing player.
Yeah.
They bought him in because
Our
he's a
proven players left.
top player.
We Mason Mount, regardless of what I think of him now, Mason Mount, proven Premier League player.
Yeah, winner.
He left. Billy Gilmore, gone. Like, if you think about the players that you sort of know can do it in the Premier League, they've gone. One after the other.
And then it's like, you get rid of Billy Gilmore to bring in another Billy Gilmore.
Yeah,
You bring in another potential.
Potential.
It's a strange.
It's a strange-
Actually,
it's a
you know what?
strange
You've
model.
got
It is a great point.
It's a strange model, isn't
It's
it?
almost like he's explaining it to me now because I have been baffled. I've been looking at. I've been saying £1 billion. If Arsenal spent £1 billion, I'm supposed to see a couple of superstars.
Yeah.
World-class players on that pitch.
The only world-class player at
Alongside.
Chelsea was there anyway. And he's world-class on his day is the point I'd make about
Sterling.
Reece James.
Reece James.
I'd say Reece James.
By the way, I saw him at the airport.
Did you really?
Yeah, I saw him at the airport coming back from Dubai.
With his butler.
I knew that was going to come from him. Right? Nice guy, actually. Really nice guy. He's a bit shy, isn't he?
So, yeah, very
But
shy,
nice
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he's a
and I was
fantastic
trying to,
player.
I kept saying, you playing it? You playing it? He wouldn't tell me.
Sadly, he's not.
He wouldn't.
Sadly, he's
It
not.
broke down. It broke down.
another
Yeah.
And like, this is the other
Which is
thing.
a shame because he's had a lot of injuries, hasn't he? But
Can't keep
he's
fit.
a quality player. I mean, it's good for us that he's not playing.
Yeah, it's so good for you
But
because
he is
Chelsea is so
quality.
much better. Like, you know, if we were to have any chance on the weekend, if things were to go our way, we would have been relying on basically Chelsea are at our best when Ben Chilwell and Reece James are in the team flying. Cole Palmer's looked brilliant, and Raheem Sterling this season. I can't believe Gareth Southgate's let him.
But you know, he's always injured now. The left back, isn't he? Like Chilwell.
Playing out of position a lot, Lee, as well. Like Chelsea have been getting a lot wrong lately, and
It's a manager that he's just picking up.
by no means.
Yeah.
I worry sometimes. Do you ever get this, particularly in YouTube, where audiences can be quite tribal? You know, if you say something negative, it can be positioned as Pochettino out.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
for
I
one
agree,
second
totally agree.
suggesting
No.
that. Pochettino is the best thing at Chelsea in terms of like anybody higher up. He's the only football man that I trust
Yeah.
of anybody above player level. So I want Pochettino at the club. He is, everything should be built around Pochettino's desires. But he's enough getting some things wrong, you know, like playing Levi Colwill as a left back.
Yeah.
We had three left backs on the pitch fairly recently, and not one of them was playing at left back. Yeah, like genuinely, like we had three on the pitch, and you got Levi Colwill left back. We also had Ben Chilwell playing as our most forward left winger. You know, if we do that against you, I've got a terrible feeling that you know, if Pochettino does make an error, Arteta's going to exploit it, and we'll be in big trouble.
Yeah, the good thing about Arsenal actually this season is that actually our best performances have been away from home. Away from home, we've been solid. I don't think we've not conceded a goal away from home yet this season, have we?
No.
And that performance that you saw against
Bodes
Man
quite
City-
well for you because we ain't scored that many.
Yeah, the performances away from home, I've been really impressed with Arsenal. I've been a lot of control and played really well. I want to see that this weekend against Chelsea.
Yeah, like, you know, just going back to the Arteta thing, I think like, you know, why Arteta's doing well now over the last few is because his players.
He's got
better players now, like, you know.
You've got a team capable of winning the league.
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
genuinely do have a team capable of winning.
And the questions will be whether Mikel can do that, get them over the line. When I look at it, when you go back to Pochettino's been at Southampton a couple of years there, then Tottenham.
He is a
at
good
the end of the day, Arteta has just been at Arsenal. He's had to, when people go, like Rory said, 8th and 8th. When you look back on it, well, he had no experience. He had no, but he's learned on the job, and for that you have to give him credit for it.
Pochettino's been in Champions League final and stuff though.
Yeah. And I will say this with Arsenal as a club, and many of me included at the time felt that it was too much for Arteta. Arsenal kept faith. They stayed with it. Like Chelsea haven't with Potter. Other teams, certainly Tottenham haven't done it with a couple of managers and whatever. We have stayed faithful, and I think that because we've stayed faithful to him, the success has come.
They're going to have to do that with Pochettino.
Yeah, no matter what.
100%. I think that they will. And I think because Arteta's done this,
sure? Because they did say they did say that with Potter as well. Didn't they?
I do think
they were going to stick with him no matter what. They're not. This is a long-term project.
He'll be judged in years, not months.
Yeah,
that was the quote, wasn't it? He'll be judged in years, not months.
Yeah, but rid of him before the end of the season and avoid Lampard.
I honestly believe because of what Mikel has done at Arsenal, other clubs will give their manager a little bit more time because of that. I really do. Arsenal, listen. Arsenal could have sacked Arteta, and rightly so at a certain time. Where will Arsenal be now? We don't know. But going into the game now, going into what I see with Mikel now, is he's got better players to work with. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you look at when we was losing, when we was 8th in the league and whatever like that. Look at the 2 central defenders that he had now to the 2 central defenders he's got now. It's such a massive.
This is the best Arsenal team. This is the best Arsenal team. I thought that Van Persie team that scored 5 at Stamford Bridge was a brilliant team, but it was never really going to win the league. Brilliant team.
No, it wasn't built to win.
Yeah, it wasn't built to win the league, but a fantastic team nonetheless. But this has got to be. It's got to be the best Arsenal team for 2 decades, isn't it?
Yeah,
probably.
It's got a very, very good spine now.
He has got a good.
Yeah, you're very unlucky that you're going up against the Guardiola.
I mean, if Guardiola had went around, would have won it last year.
Well, but you realise how good City are.
You know, often you can look at spines to judge how good a team is. You just look at the spine. So Chelsea's best ever, you kind of go Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, wasn't it? Phenomenal. And obviously you could do it of an Arsenal era, where like the dominant era. If you look at now Arsenal, you go in whoever your keeper is, then you go in Saliba, comparable to anyone. You go in Declan Rice, comparable to anyone, and you go in Gabriel Jesus, who I rate quite highly.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a conversation around that, but in terms of a spine, it's certainly capable of winning the league.
Yeah, and going into this weekend, I mean, Arsenal, Lee, should have a fullish squad, you know what I mean? Because, all right, obviously we know no Timber, he's missing for the whole season, but, you know, a lot of players coming back from injuries. Possibly we could see Saka
be interesting
back
that one
for the game, but what I think every Arsenal fan would like to see, I mean, certainly me, I want to see Partey, Rice and Odegaard in that midfield.
Are we resting Saka for the Champions League game?
Most certainly not. I mean, Saka's fit, he plays for me. But
I'm disappointed that Havertz isn't going to be able to.
Well, he could.
Havertz could play. I don't know, but my preference.
I hope he plays.
He could play.
Would you have him as a midfielder if he played?
I want to see. No, I want to see Partey playing. I want to see Partey, Odegaard,
Rice. That's our midfield. That's what
that to me is our best midfield.
If Saka doesn't play, then I'd like to see.
Havertz through the middle and Gabriel Jesus shoved out.
I don't know, man, but you say that, but I don't know.
But Eddie's done well against Chelsea.
He's always done well against Chelsea, Eddie Nketiah. He's always had a good game.
He's a good player.
Yeah, and he always lifts it for Chelsea. I think you'd have to start Eddie in that game.
But there is something poetic about, I do believe in that former player thing. Like, last year, okay, I was completely wrong, but last year I believed that Aubameyang was going to get you. Because it just felt written in the start.
It wasn't worried. I was worried about it.
If I was an Arsenal fan, I was worried. If I was an Arsenal fan,
he had a disaster, but I was worried
We didn't touch the ball. But
Yeah.
if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd go, look, Havertz has been a disaster, but you've got to play him at Stamford Bridge.
And remember, he made a big contribution to the City win.
Yeah, not quite as big.
I want to ask you about Havertz.
Yeah.
Right, because you guys, 3 seasons?
Yeah.
You had him for. We all know he scored that big winning goal in the Champions League. Talk to me about Havertz, right?
I don't really know where to start. I just don't think he's the player that you believe he is. I don't think he's good enough. I think it was poor recruitment. I'm surprised by Mikel Arteta, who, generally speaking, has been excellent in the players that he's given the nod to. He's turned Ben White into a player that I didn't think he could. You know, when Ben White was at Leeds or whatever, I thought he was all right, but I didn't think he was this. I didn't think I'd be saying, I know it won't happen because of various political reasons, but I didn't think I'd be making a case for Ben White playing for England, which is what I am now doing. So I think he's done brilliantly there. And Ramsdale, whatever you think of him now, whatever even Arteta thinks of him, excellent season last year, brilliant recruitment. This Havertz one isn't that, because I just don't think the player is there. The player.
What's his main attribute?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. If you push me for an answer, I think what he is supposed to be would be a Berbatov-esque forward. I'm being very generous with the comparisons here, but maybe Bergkampy. You know, drop a bit deep, excellent touch, fantastic eye for a pass, and a decent finish when it comes off. But he isn't that. He isn't that. So if you're trying to redefine Kai Havertz and make him a midfielder, I would say that he isn't that either, because one trait that he definitely exudes, which I think is the most frustrating in a player, and I know you'll agree, Lee, the one thing that I cannot swallow, like cowardice. You know, if there's a 50-50, you're in. If there's a 60-40 in the other geezer's favour, you're in. And that is the life of a midfielder. Declan Rice, the reason you beat Man City was because Declan Rice was a warrior. Absolute warrior. He's such a coward, Havertz. He won't fight. And I think a midfielder, one of the main traits you need, are you a fighter? Like Tony Adams said something in his book, didn't he? Where he said, we need to look down the tunnel. If you look down the tunnel and you've got 4 fighters, 4 that will come with you if it goes, you know you're all right. He said, I was lucky at Arsenal because I had 11. So it didn't matter. I had 11 of them. But you need 4. Kai Havertz is not one of the 4. He's not in the trench with you.
Do you know what? It's a funny thing you should say that, because if I were to say that the one thing that he has done this season, like, of everything, he has got stuck in a little bit.
Yes,
like,
has he really?
It's a little bit like, if I were to say, well, if you used to say to me, what's he done? I said, well, he's won a few 50s,
Yeah.
put himself
The only thing though, Lee, where
put
I
himself
would,
about Man City and that.
yeah, the only thing I would say though, Lee, where I kind of, maybe this is where Rory's coming from. I feel so far from what I've seen from Kai Havertz, all like you just said, he's got all the attributes technically, right? But I just feel that sometimes he's not. I want to see a bit more bravery in his game.
Yeah.
He'll pass it off.
Yeah. Take some responsibility.
He'll receive the ball somewhere,
Easy pass.
and then he'll lay an easy.
Yeah.
I want to see you.
But that
You know
comes
what I mean?
with confidence, though. I don't think he's
Maybe
got
he's
confidence.
confident.
I'm so surprised that you've signed him. I really am.
We were all surprised,
because
to be
also,
honest.
you know, when you think about the Arsenal style, like the way that Arteta plays, you know, that really effervescent front four, and you don't know where the goals are coming from. Because as much as people say Arsenal don't have that goal scorer and that could be a problem, the beauty of it from your perspective is, yeah, we ain't got 1, we got 5. If you add Odegaard into it, you got a 4, and then Odegaard, you've got loads of goal scorers. He's not that either. Like he's not like an effervescent pressing forward that can add to your front line in that way. So I don't get it. I found him. Do you know what I would say?
Did you
about
please
him,
him to leave?
Yeah, mate. This is the impossible thing. You know if you've scored a goal for Chelsea in a European Cup final, like I make a case for you to be like legendary. You know, like I'm talking.
Yeah,
everyone that played in Munich, to be honest, like I'm talking statues. I think proper legendary status. I don't like Kai Havertz, and he won us the European Cup. Like I don't like it, and this isn't since the move. I was like pulling my hair out with him last year.
Well, no,
him and Werner,
I
I actively disliked while they were Chelsea players, despite the fact that they were integral to Chelsea winning the European Cup. That's how bad a footballer I think he is. So the fact that you took him off our hands for a lot of money, I was pleased by, but I can also feel as I speak that this is going to bite me on Monday morning. This has got a Kai Havertz 1-0 win written all over it, and his clip going everywhere, isn't it?
Well, we've been saying that every goes, this is Kai Havertz's game and everything.
I think you've got to play him against Chelsea. I think honestly, he's going to get booed at Stamford Bridge, by the way.
That's what I was going to ask you. Listen,
Why
he
would he
one of
get
your
booed?
greatest ever moments, man. Are you booing him?
Yeah, he did.
What are you
But he
booing
was
him
a
for?
bad player for us, and he's now an Arsenal player. Like, you have to demonstrate an
Nah,
element.
but
You have to
come on, it
demonstrate-
depends what a player's done, innit?
Jorginho wouldn't get booed, though, would he?
I would boo Jorginho when he's in a Chelsea shirt. I couldn't start. He was another player I couldn't bear. Just didn't do anything. Didn't affect. You know, for a player who's got such prestige in the game, just didn't do anything. Didn't affect games in the way that I wanted him to. I like midfielders who drag their team to
You're the
victory.
first Chelsea fan who said he booed Jorginho.
Nah,
Most of them
to be honest, I probably wouldn't bother booing him. I'd be ambivalent. But I didn't like him at Chelsea. I didn't like. Remember the goal he scored against you? He's so capable of doing that. He gave you a goal. Well, he scored for you. Do you know what he did the other day for you? Was it against Tottenham? It was.
Mistake against Tottenham, yeah.
It's so Jorginho, that. Flimsy.
So Havertz, you don't think...
Havertz
won't get a
booed.
warm welcome?
No. He's got. You can do wonderful things for Chelsea and still be massively disliked. Like in 1998, Gustavo Poyet scored in Monaco as Chelsea won a Super Cup. We beat the Galacticos. Like we people don't talk about it. We beat the Real Madrid, iconic Real Madrid team. We beat them 1-0. Gustavo Poyet. Everyone sings about Poyet still. We hate him.
Yeah, but that's because he went to Tottenham.
Yeah, but Tottenham and Arsenal. Look, Tottenham are number one. You don't go to Tottenham. But equally, you can't go to Arsenal and expect to still be loved unless you are basically Petr Cech. I think he is the exception to the rule. He is the only player that could have got away with that because of the status.
Chelsea, even Fabregas didn't really get...
Yeah, he did.
Some of your Arsenal fans, I know some Arsenal fans that hate Fabregas.
I think with Fabregas, I don't hate Fabregas.
I know some
I think there was a little bit because the way he left Arsenal to go to Barcelona.
People forget he went on strike.
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of that. Maybe not so much. I never resented him coming back to Chelsea because the option was Arsenal and Arsenal didn't take it up. So, he's got to go and play somewhere.
He was wearing a Barcelona shirt. Do you remember they put a Barcelona? Who was it? Puyol. Put a Barcelona shirt on him while he was still at Arsenal.
Yeah. So there was probably with that, Petit maybe gets away with it.
He was terrible for us. You should be laughing at that. He's terrible midfielder for us.
Certainly William Gallas doesn't.
We always used to welcome Ashley Cole with open arms. He's
the one you should. He's the one. There's an example. One of your Invincibles you booed to you had £50 notes printed with.
It's a bit different.
It was very different at the time. But again, I never blamed him for actually going to Chelsea.
If you actually, David Dean's book, if you read that, he actually says that, it was Arsenal's fault.
Really?
Yeah, they could have kept him if they'd have coughed up a little extra money.
It was just that ridiculous phrase in Cole's book, wasn't it? When he said,
crashed my car, that one.
Yeah. I swerved off the road. I swerved off the road when he was offered 50 grand. Just for, if you're the average geezer reading that, you're on the tube and you're reading that, and you're going to work and you're going to earn 80 quid a day.
But
what?
David Dean in his book was sort of saying, listen, he went to the board and said, give him the little extra money. It's not a lot. That's what David Dean said. There's not a lot of money he's asking for, right? To keep him here, you know what I mean? And they refused.
I know when you're saying that, but you have to live it in the context of footballers, you know what I mean? Like Ashley Cole was going away to England, right? And playing alongside Wainbridge, and Wainbridge was earning twice as much as him. You know what I mean? And that ain't right. You know what I mean? Like, so that's basic. If you'd have said that instead of it would have been a lot more. But I don't blame. Arsenal should have paid him what should have been deserved. Now, if Arsenal would have matched what Chelsea offered, and then he decided to go to Chelsea, it's a different thing. But when you have a look at it, it ain't just about money. It's about the ambition of what the club was going through at that time. Arsenal were on a downward curve where they weren't going to win nothing much in the next few years, where Chelsea were on the up. So
there was all that talk as well. We don't need him. We've got Clichy. That didn't.
Which Clichy weren't a bad player. There was no Ashley Cole, was he?
No, Ashley Cole, I think, is probably the only of my generation. I think Ashley Cole is the only player that you can say is the best in the world in his position. Without any, some Liverpool fans maybe argue that Steven Gerrard is the best at what he did. I could argue that Frank Lampard is. I'm sure that you've got arguments about Thierry Henry or whatever, maybe even Dennis Bergkamp. But somebody may contest it. Somebody might go, it isn't Emmett Aguero or whatever. Whereas I think Ashley Cole, regardless of your sentiment, regardless of how you feel about him as Arsenal fans, I think even the most vitriolic would have to go. Even now, I think Ashley Cole is the best left back in the world to have ever played the game. You could argue maybe Maldini.
Played the game.
Well, okay, look, I don't know enough about
you got like
George Cohen or whatever.
Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, he's better player than Carlos. Maldini maybe, but Maldini plays centre half a lot. Better than Carlos, yeah, of course.
You know, Kenny Sansom was a top left back.
Yeah. Dan Petrescu, fantastic right back, but it's hard to make the case.
But I'm with you on that. Actually, Cole was, when you're the best, you have to look after the best.
Yeah.
I don't think Arsenal did.
No, we didn't.
Hasn't it changed? Look at how it's gone. we're talking about Ashley Cole leaving Arsenal to go to Chelsea, which is when we were the best and ultimately win a European Cup. How the turntables are turned. You've now got our European Cup winner in Kai Havertz,
listen,
and you're
Rory,
in Champions League and we're not.
I always say this, you know what I mean? Like when you look back at that Chelsea team, and you'll probably say, oh, we haven't replaced Lampard, we haven't replaced Terry, we haven't replaced Ashley Cole. Why? Because they're all world-class players.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to do. We've never replaced Vieira, we've never replaced Henry, Campbell, Bergkamp.
It's that injury at Sunderland to Abu Dhabi, wasn't it? Abu Dhabi.
This is the hard thing now about where Chelsea have got to get back up to again. It's tough. It's tough because those John Terrys of this world, Lampard certainly, are not there no more.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
You have to go and buy them or develop them, I guess. But
we have developed them and then we sold them. Because it's 100% profit on a balance. You know a player that's come through the youth system, they represent 100% profit. So you see when Chelsea sold Lewis Hall, we sold Lewis Hall to Newcastle because that demonstrates 100% profit.
Yeah.
Same reason why Arsenal sold Balogun.
Balogun,
100%.
He actually come out this week.
He actually
come out
this week and said that he
didn't interview them.
No, he didn't.
He done an interview saying he didn't really want to leave.
He's with America. He didn't really want to leave. He wanted to stay, but
it was sort of forced
on
on
him.
The pollution of money in football is hateful, isn't it? Like, look at Balogun's story there. Imagine him just hit, like, obviously we never really view things through the lens of a footballer, but Balogun was really keen to play for Arsenal. He didn't want to leave, and he's had to leave, not for any footballing reasons. It's horrible.
And there's an amazing story around Balogun in that when he was scouted, right? He was actually scouted twice because the first time he was scouted and brought in, and at a trial, they said no. And I think the scout who scouted him then brought him in under a different guise.
Oh, really?
Because he thought he was that good.
The scout was just like, you've made a mistake.
You made a mistake here, and then they brought him back, and they did actually sign him. And
fair
then,
play.
And then he's come through, and it represents pure profit.
Yeah.
Pure profit.
But that's not what
that
football
goes on
clubs
the
should be
books,
doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like with Chelsea, like they've got an academy above an academy at the moment. But I'm just hoping that come the weekend, Arsenal can get the 3 points.
You confident? Do you honestly do you think you come and win?
I feel confident that we can get a win because based off of not so much Chelsea, because I know we'll see a different Chelsea. The best performance I saw from Chelsea was that game against Liverpool at the start of the season where that was a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
Chelsea probably edged it.
You've got to remember though, Liverpool had a goal disallowed. Salah.
Yeah.
Remember, if they go 2-0 up.
2-0, different game.
But I think we see a different Chelsea. But I do think on the road, I've been impressed with Arsenal this season. They've played well. They've had a level of control. They haven't got a load of injuries at the moment, which is good, right? So I feel player for player with a better team, their confidence will be high. Because we were unbeaten this season.
Off the back of beating City, you know how it's been stunted slightly because of the international break? Is that going to do us a favour?
I think...
Like the momentum's not there, is it?
I don't know, because we both won our games. I think if you would have lost your last game, maybe it might have helped you guys to regroup and that. But I think the fact that both teams won their final games, both teams are coming on the back of wins, I don't think it really makes much of a difference. What I do feel... is just that, Arsenal at the moment are playing well. I mean, they're unbeaten in the league. And as I said, their best performances have been away from home. So I fancy us. I think it could be another 1-0, 2-0 type game. What do you think, Lee?
I think with the international break, it's done us good. I know we won that game, but we won that game without Martinelli and Saka starting. Right? You know what I mean? We need them starting. So when you go into the likes of Chelsea, you can't be going in without either. You want to go in with both of them, but one of them ideally, particularly away from home because you can hit them on the break a little bit more. Listen, I'll be really honest. When we was playing Chelsea a few years ago and all that, you take a draw. You know what I mean? You go away at Stamford Bridge, you're thinking, well, I'm desperate for a draw. At the moment, a lot of Chelsea fans that I know are going, my mate Glenn Knight, who's a big Chelsea fan, was around, I'll take a draw.
Yeah,
I'll take a draw.
Would you take a draw?
Oh, mate. Now, literally, I'd take it now. Like, I'd do anything for it as well.
That's got to give you the confidence going into the... Got to give you the confidence going into it because basically they're hoping that they might get something else, but they know that they're up against it.
A draw would represent a great result for Chelsea because it would be 3 games, 7 points, Arsenal out of the way. It's a bit of a statement getting something off Arsenal. 3 points... 3 points would be a dream, but it feels a mile away. a point. However, we could nick that. And this
also-
is crucial.
But
stunts
Chelsea's
your
still
growth.
got good players,
Like, we don't
Rory.
want you to win the
Still got
league.
good
Do
players.
you know what I mean? I'm desperate for you to not win the league. So the point off you.
Yeah, also look at it and say, if you lost that game, well, look at the games you've got coming up.
Oh, fixtures are
Right?
important.
You know what I mean? That could be a terrible result for
They're
you.
not,
as well.
I'll tell you what, as it stands, they're not getting nothing at Spurs.
Mate, my WhatsApp group did it today, right? Went through. We're playing Brentford, so we should win. But apart from Brentford, our next 3 points doesn't come until the 9th of December when we play Everton. 9th of December.
You got us. You got
19th. It's the
Spurs.
19th of October. 19th of
So
October.
what's your next run?
Oh, it's appalling. It's everyone. Man United, Man City, Tottenham, Brighton. It's everyone up until the 9th of December. The next Brentford's in there as well. So Brentford,
Away or home?
all being well, I think we're away. Brentford, all being well, they're struggling though. They've only won one. They beat Fulham in August. They're struggling, but they're capable. Look, my mate, who's a bit of a pessimistic Chelsea fan anyway, but he's gone. 9th of December is our next victory. You're like, hang on a
Hopefully he's
minute.
right.
Well, if he is right, if that happens, we're in the relegation zone by the time that victory comes. Which is why I point against you. Do you see why I point is so
Yeah, and that also give you confidence going into
the Tottenham game or whatever? Yeah.
All right, let's get some predictions then. Lee?
I've gone 2-0 to the Arsenal.
I'm going 2-0.
I'm going 1-1.
1-1.
And that's as good as I can. That's me being as like blindly. I'm being tie here. That's me. I'm a Chelsea tie. 1-0 victory. A 1-0 victory for Chelsea.
1-0 victory. Rory, it's been an absolute pleasure
Thank you,
having you
man.
on, man.
It's an honour to
tell
be
everybody about where they can find you, the
my,
great work you're doing on your channel.
Oh, you're really kind. My YouTube channel's Rory Jennings. Put up football content every day. And I'm also a member of the Club YouTube channel, which is me, Adam McCullough, and Lawrence Brewery. Thank you very much. Rob.
Brilliant channel as well.
Yeah, very good. I like Adam.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
Same.
Nothing for Booby.
No, just leave it at that. I like Adam.
Booby's all right, man. I still want to see Booby after...
He's been quiet, the old
He's
boy.
got all quiet, mate. You know what I mean?
He's a great lad. He's a good lad. But
He's hilarious,
You know what I mean?
isn't
He comes out of his rock every now and then.
But anyway, listen, thanks very much for checking out the podcast today. Thank you very much to Alison Lomax, Managing Director of YouTube, who was on earlier, talking passionately about the women's game and also about the brand new podcast service that they've got on YouTube, which we are going to be part of. So it's great to we'll be part of that as well. And thanks to Rory Jennings for coming on as well, representing Chelsea. Thanks very much, Lee. And obviously, massive game this weekend. Don't forget, we're going to be all over it here at AFTV. We'll be at Stamford Bridge. We'll also be here in the studio with a big watch along. And also make sure you get on after the game onto full time. Wherever you are around the UK or anywhere in the world, you can come on live and have your say on the game. So make sure you do that. All you got to do is download the app AFTV Plus. You literally, once you've done that, press one button and you're into the green room, the virtual green room, where the guys will line you up to bring you on live to have your say about the game. We speak to more fans after a game than any other platform. So make sure you check it out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And we'll be back next week with another Invincible podcast. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.